For this video, we will be discussing how to make a while loop. At the top, you will notice that I've imported java.io and I've imported java.util.random, more on that in a moment. And we've also imported java.util.scanner. So to make a while loop, well, first, why do we use while loops? While loops are useful for repeating actions indefinitely. Generally, they're used to make sure the user has put in a correct type of input. For instance, if you wanted to take in an integer from a user and you wanted that value to be just positive, you could make the loop, you can make that input process happen until the user puts in a value that is greater than zero. And another way to use a while loop is that it gives the user control over whether a program should proceed. We will see that when we get to the second type of loop that we have that's controlled by a Boolean value. So when we talk about the structure of a while loop, it's going to be while, and the initial condition should be something that is true. And then inside the body of the while loop, you put in whatever action that you want repeated. And then at the end of that action, you want a statement that processes this initial condition variable. So sometimes it's going to be a counter, sometimes it's going to be a Boolean value. We will do both types so we can see how they both look. So a word about this random. So what we're going to create a program that is a basic arithmetic problem generator for an elementary school student. So to do that, we're going to generate two random values, print a string that shows the equation, and allow the user to put in a value. And we are going to first set that up to run 5 times, and then we're going to go back and give the user the option of controlling whether that program continues to give them new problems. So the first way we're going to do this is we're going to first need to create a couple of variables. For your while loop, if you're going to have it run a set number of times, you want a counter variable. So we're going to create an int called counter, and we're going to set that equal to 0. So for our specific to our program, we're going to need a couple of variables that generate random numbers. And so to have that random number, we need to create a random number generator. So we're going to say we're going to create a new random object, and that's done similar to how we create this scanner. We're going to have random, and for me, it's always good to call your random number generator random. So we're going to have random equals new random, and that's that. So right now we have our counter for our while loop. We have a random number generator, and that's kind of all we need. So we're going to set up our while loop. We're going to have while, and initially we're going to say this program generates 5 arithmetic problems. So if we want to generate 5 problems, we want while counter is less than 5. Now, if we started the counter at 1, we would do less than or equal to 5. But if we do 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, that's still going to be 5 values, and we get the same effect. So if we want to generate 5 problems, we need to create 2 random variables. So we're going to say we're going to have int. We'll call it first. We'll just say first. So int first equals, and so we're going to do random dot next int, and say we want the numbers to be from 0 to 100. So we'll just put in 101, I'm sorry. And so what this random dot next int does is this generates a random value from 0 to 100. 101 is not included. And we're going to have this int second equals the exact same thing, random dot next int 101. And it's going to do exactly the same thing. So then we need to prompt the give the user this string that makes an equation. So we're gonna put sys o control space, and we're gonna put first plus plus let's see, we want second, we want plus, we want another plus sign, and that equals. All right, so right now what this code does is, what this line does, it prints an arithmetic problem. And so the user has this option then, so we want to present the user with the arithmetic problem and then allow them to type in the answer. So we need to gather that value. So we want to do, oh, I didn't create a scanner. Oh yeah, we did. We called it scanner. So scan. So we're going to say int answer equals scanner.next int. So now we have an equation that the user can respond to. And so maybe we want to give the user some feedback on if their answer is correct or incorrect. So we can do if answer equals first plus second, we'll have to put that. So make sure you put this in parentheses, because otherwise it's going to it won't work. We'll talk about why later. We'll talk about why in class. But so if first equals second, we want to give the user some sort of feedback. So we can say you got that one correct. And so if we give the user feedback for when they get it correct, then we also might want to give them feedback if they do not get it correct. So we'll create an else condition where we put nope, control space. So we put I'm sorry, the correct answer is, and then we'll put space, and then we'll do first plus second. Oh, another way to do this is we could just create a variable called correct answer, but we're not going to do that. So right now, if we run this loop, it's going to create two random numbers, present the user with an arithmetic problem, gather the user input, check the answer against what the user puts in, and it's going to give them either you got that one correct or you did not get that one correct. So the problem is right now, as this goes, this would just run infinitely without stopping. And so we need to, if we only wanted to do 5 problems, we need to increment the value of our counter. And so we're going to do that here. So now what we have is, right now counter is set equal to 0. So 0 is less than 5. So the loop is going to run once. It's going to generate one problem. It's going to take the user input, check it, and give them one of these two things, and then add 1 to the value here, and then we're gonna have counter at 1 still less than 5. So this loop runs and it's gonna keep doing the same thing until it gets to 5. 5 is not less than 5, so it's gonna exit the loop. And at the end, just so once it exits the loop, it's going to run whatever code exists after the loop. So we're gonna say thank you for practicing math. So we'll exit that. So now when we run this, it's going to say 99 plus 97, that is 196. And then we get 79 plus 53, that is 132. 79 plus 98, let's say that we type in the incorrect answer. Say we say that's 165. It's going to say, I'm sorry, the correct answer is 177. And so then we do 15 plus 49. That's 78. It's not really. So then 17 plus 46, that's 63. So we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is our 5th problem. So we expect this to exit and say, thank you for practicing math. That's what happens. So in one way, we can control the while loop by setting the number of times that it runs. But say we go back into this loop and we give the user the option to practice as many problems as they want, or to just do one problem at a time. So we're going to change this counter to a Boolean value, and we're going to call it, instead of counter, we're going to call it run again. Can I call it run? Run's not a reserved word. So Boolean run equals true. And so remember, a while loop is going to run as long as the condition is true. So we're just going to put while run. And so now this loop is going to run as long as the variable run is true. So at the end of this loop, instead of incrementing the counter, we want to create a condition that allows the user to control if the loop continues to run. So we're going to put would you like to practice more? And we're going to do one for yes, or two for no. We can make it look a little bit better. So we'll put yes, and we'll put two for, oh, trackpad kind of sticky. So no. So now when we run this, we are going to present the user with a problem, and it's going to generate whatever. And down here where we have the one for yes, two for no, we need to do something with that. So we're going to have, we'll say int response equals scanner dot next int, close that down. And we want to say, well, if response is equal to 1, we're going to leave run as true. And else, we're going to put run equals false. And let's see, we'll separate this. You know what? Let's put a comment. Allows user to control if loop runs again. So when we run this now, we're going to have 2 plus 94, that's 96. And it's going to ask us, do you want to practice again? So do we want to practice more? All right, let's say we want to do one more problem. So we put in 1. So then it's going to give us another problem, and we're going to put 97, press 1 again. And so then 16 plus 67, get 83. And so if someone is practicing well, they get like say 6 in a row correct, then we would exit. So let's do a couple more. So 57 plus 94 is 151. Practice again, that is 141. And practice one more, and that's 48. And so now we're gonna say no. And we get thank you for practicing math. So we've done 2 different kinds of while loops. One that runs based on a counter, and another one that runs based on user input. So the last thing is, what if you wanted to use this to control whether a user is putting in an appropriate value? So let's do this. Like say we wanted to take the square root of a number. I think we're going to need the math package for this. So import java.math. Oh, it's a capital math. You know what? I actually can't remember this line for this one. So let's go to java.util, and we'll just put a star to get the entire package. So here, let's say we want to gather a value from the user. So we're going to have, let's see, we'll do system.out. We'll put enter a value and I will return the square root. So we're gonna then do scanner dot next int. So we need to actually point that to something. So we're gonna say double. We're gonna say int. We'll call it x equals scanner dot next int. Now we know that you can only do the square root of a positive number. Now the easiest way to handle this is we could have an if condition where if the value the user enters is less than 0, we could multiply by -1. But say you just wanted to make the user put in a positive number, we could have a loop that goes while x is less than 0. You can just prompt the user to put in a positive value. So we're gonna do this, and we're gonna put please enter a value greater than 0. And then we're gonna do scanner dot next int, and if we put in a value, once we put in a value greater than 0, it's going to, you know what, we still want to double. We don't want to int, we're gonna double, change this to next double. So here we're gonna change this to double as well. And so let's run this. But you know what? Actually, we're gonna do something with it. So we're gonna do system.out.print. We're gonna do math square root. We're just gonna do x. You know what? We actually need x equals that new double. So when we run this, it's gonna say enter a value, and I will return the square root. And say we try to do -3, it's gonna say please enter a value greater than 0. So we do -4. -4 is not greater than 0, so then we do 5, and it's gonna give us this the square root of 5. And so if we run this again, say we put in 9 the first time, then it's just gonna give us 3.0 because this condition is never triggered. So sometimes you can use a while loop to process user input, and the user never sees that. So quickly going back over a while loop, we need a condition that's initially true if we want the loop to run, or something that track. You know what? Let's also we can put catches errors user input. So if we want to create, we can create a condition that only works if the user doesn't put in something that we want, and then make them do so. If you have questions, talk to me in class.